Welcome to the Savvy Dentist podcast with Dr. Jesse Green, the show where great dentistry meets great business. Listen in each week as we bring you an inspiring person who will share their story, ideas and business techniques to help you create a practice and a life you love. And now introducing your host, Dr. Jesse Green.
Hello everyone, Jesse Green here. Welcome back to SavvyDentist.com and to the Savvy Dentist podcast. My guest today is my friend, Dr. Ayesha Aijaz. Ayesha runs a very successful group of practices in Melbourne. And above all of that though, Ayesha is possibly one of the nicest human beings I know. She's considered, she's thoughtful, she's intelligent, she's kind, all of those good things. And what we're talking about today are life and leadership lessons that she's learned over the last few years as she's been on a journey of growing a business, scaling it up, and really creating time in her life. Ayesha is someone who I have the utmost respect for. As I said, she's an incredibly talented business owner, and above all else, she's an incredibly wonderful and warm human being, and she's someone who I seek counsel from as well. She just is a really good sounding board. We talk about a lot of things in this podcast. You're going to want to have a pen and paper handy because what she shares is really valuable and really helpful. Now, before we get to our conversation with Ayesha, I want to let you know that if you're a dental practice owner, we have put together a COVID care pack for you. In that care pack, what we're going to be providing is some resources for you to help you through this COVID-19 crisis. We've got expert interviews, accountants, lawyers, and so on. I've put some tools together there for you. To get access to that, you need to head across to savvydentistacademy.com/SDA free. And I want to tell you that it is a free resource. We want to do our bit to help dental practice owners through this time. So just go ahead, head across to savvydentistacademy.com/SDA free to join up, to get that for free, to have those resources. And together as a community, we'll all come through this COVID situation. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this conversation I had with Dr. Ayesha Aijaz. As I said, it's a wonderfully warm conversation, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Here she is. Ayesha, welcome back to the Savvy Dentist podcast. It's fantastic to have you here again. It's been a while since we had you, episode 37. And as always, we've had the good chance to talk offline a bit, but it's always nice to record a conversation because every time I talk to you, I always walk away feeling that much better for the experience. So welcome back. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Jesse, for the kind intro.
Well, it's true. It's been good fun. I always like talking to you. Ayesha, when we spoke back in episode 37, we spoke about autopiloting your practice, and you've got a really good practice that's gone on to, do tremendous things. And firstly, congratulations. But just so we can bring the listeners up to date from episode 37 to whatever episode this is going to be, 213 or 14 or something like that, I'm wondering if you could just take us on a bit of a journey. Where have you, what's your business been like over the last few years? What have you been working on? What's been that process for you?
Okay, Jesse, the practice, when I started off very busy, I was one of the very lucky few people. It was in a great location. We had 3 rooms. They were running morning and night. We've had full appointment books, not a moment of rest, which is all good when you look at it from the outside. But internally, the systems were not really there, which meant I was always working. I was working as a dentist. I was trying to please the patients, please myself as a dentist, doing good dentistry, and also trying to manage the staff, even though we had a practice manager and so forth. So there was a lot of work in the background. And emotionally as well, there was a lot of investment in there and a lot of wear. But, overall, it was always a good practice. I have no regrets about it as such. It's been great. Having said that, then it was just a matter of really stepping back and putting systems into place and looking at the bigger picture. And once we've done that, placing more trust in staff by, training them properly and sort of realizing that it does not happen overnight either. So you can't have results straight away. As a dentist, you sort of expect, you've done that filling, it's going to look great. It doesn't happen with people like that.
Unfortunately.
People do need time. Yeah, so just having that patience and just sort of empowering my staff, having a business manager, somebody who you can work with as well. Those have been great sort of investments on my part, which resulted in us having 4 surgeries. We've got a 5th room ready to go. due to the COVID. Now everything is, of course, on hold. But it also has meant that my clinical hours are much, much less. I work about one day, and because of patient pressure, I have to do one Saturday a month. But, I shouldn't complain about that.
No,
And I really don't get a lot of phone calls at home now. So on my days off, it is my days off. I am working on the business. It doesn't mean that I'm not doing anything. I do work on the business, but, at least my mind is not everywhere.
Yeah, fantastic. And well, as I said, congratulations, Ayesha. You've done tremendously well. You've really transitioned from what I would call a profitable practice, one that's, making good money, but, probably not giving you the time that you wanted in that early stage. And you've crossed the leverage line. You've been able to build team. You've been able to build systems. You've been able to, create time in your life, which I think is an important currency. And obviously money we need, but time also. Just before we get into what you're doing with that time, for someone listening to this particular podcast and going, well, hang on, I feel like I'm back where Ayesha started. I've got a good practice. I've got patients coming through the door. I'm making okay money, but I want to free up some time in my life. What would be one or two things you think people should think about to get started on that journey?
I think what you'll need to do is really, first of all, take time out to have a good plan. What is it that you want? We can't have everything, really. We tend to have this misconception that we are jack of all trades and we should be able to do everything. And also the idea that, oh, my friend has 4 practices and I should be having 4 practices, or
yeah,
my friend is great at doing implants, or this dentist I saw online does the most amazing veneers. I should be doing all of them like that. I think what you have to really do is find out what your particular strength is. Work on that first of all, and know what is it that you want, really. And then step back, have a good plan, and realize that something has got to give. So if you want to be the best dentist, the best business person, you may not be, dad or mom of the year.
Yeah.
So something has got to give. And for me personally, yes, if I was in the practice and working as a clinician, I would probably be making a lot more money than I am now. And that's just got to give at the moment. It's a profitable practice. It's great. It's doing really well.
Yeah.
It can be a lot more profitable, yes, but I don't need, that much money. I'd rather be spending time with kids. So something's got to give somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I think that's a really important lesson for someone listening to this podcast, is to understand that your own definition of success is really important to you and not to compare. And of course, social media is set up to create comparison. Yeah, and I think it's really important to understand that comparison only makes you feel superior or inferior, and neither is helpful. So I love the fact, Ayesha, that you've actually chosen your own definition of success and created a business that allows you to create success on your terms, not what anyone else thinks is success. So I think that's lovely. And I do know that your numbers are still pretty awesome, by the way. So well done you. I wanted to ask you about time. Now that you've created time, you're doing 1 day a week clinically and a Saturday a month. So that's not a huge number of days. And yes, you've got family. Yes, you've got all of those other things in your life. What's been the most important thing to you in creating that time?
It's time to work on myself, really. It's just amazing how much you ignore yourself and your mental health and your mental growth. So I feel that I am a better leader and I am a better person. And to be honest, a better mother and a better partner, just because I've had time to literally myself and to work on myself.
Fantastic. And what specifically did you do in that space to enhance that personal growth, to go on that personal development journey? What things have you been on, or what did you learn?
I mean, there were little things here and there. It doesn't have to be that you have to just immediately go to a wellness coach and start working on your life.
Go to Tibet for a while or something.
Exactly. I mean, you don't have to do that. You don't have to walk on coals and, think that, oh my God, I'm going to do everything now. It is a slow journey. It takes a while, and there are some wrong decisions you make, and there are certain things that you do well, and it all happens over a period of time. So, and, you may not even know what is it that you want to do, or what is it that is good for you for a while. So, there's a moment where you are lost and you go, what do I need to do? And then suddenly you start picking things up. Am I making sense?
It makes perfect sense. I like that a lot. It's a bit of an unfolding story, isn't it? Because
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, little things I've done, there was, yes, of course, doing lots of CPDs. That has been helpful. At the same time, I've found that having a lot of friends outside of the dental circles who are successful in different areas of life, talking to them and learning little things from them has been very helpful. And it may be somebody who's a great, investment banker. There will be people who are actually just spiritually very, very mature, talking to them. And that gives you a lot of insight as well. One of the things we did was a joint journey to Jerusalem. It was a interfaith group that I went with. I'm a Muslim. There was 4 Muslims. There were 4 Jews and 4 Christians that went on a joint trip. And we experienced Jerusalem through the eyes of all 3 different religions. And that was probably one of the best things I've done.
Wow. I've got so many questions I want to ask about this. And I know I've had the opportunity to ask some of these questions before, but what a fascinating trip. Firstly, what did you learn about other people on that journey? Where were your perceptions challenged or changed? And equally, what did you learn about yourself on that trip?
Look, your perceptions are always challenged when you are in an uncharted territory or outside of your comfort zone. The place itself is just amazing. The history is there, and then you are in an area which is volatile. And there's a lot of emotions from all sides, hello, Muslims and Jews. Volatile combination anyway.
Yeah.
But to be, able to go into each of the sacred spaces, to be able to go to a synagogue, sit down there and meet some beautiful, very open-minded, very welcoming people, to sit and pray with them, during Shabbat, and taking a walk with everyone, because you're not allowed to drive actually during Shabbat, something I learned.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and sitting in a Jewish home and breaking bread with them literally and praying with them. And the surprises were both ways. I mean, something that we enjoy doing, but they were really surprised that, oh my God, you guys are so open and so, so ready to be a part of all this. Standing at the Western Wall and, putting our little chits in and paying that respect and understanding the magnitude of all the history and the reverence that's there. So, yeah, and then seeing the Muslim side and being able to have an open dialogue between all the 3 parties. There are areas where it gets uncomfortable, but to be able to have that uncomfortable talk and debate and to be able to discuss each other's point of view was a big, big growth.
And I guess what I'm understanding from that is being able to discuss different perspectives and hold different perspectives, but still respect the person who's got a different perspective to you, right?
Absolutely. We're great friends now. I mean, we talk a lot. And because of that, I've had the opportunity to then go and present at different community gatherings. We've done, presentations at the Islamic Council. We've done presentations at different Jewish ceremonies. We've done presentations in different churches, and it's just been great. The ability of, to be able to be together still. The women were fantastic and we were in it together, and there's just so much love. When we were doing the Friday prayers, the rest of the ladies were standing, at Mount Olives and just facing where we were praying, holding hands and praying for us and with us.
Isn't that lovely?
And that was really special. And they were just blown away that we were there at the Western Mall and, paying so much respect and following all the traditions. And we were all there at the church on the Sunday and singing the hymns with them. So I think there were surprises all around as to how we're in it together still.
So out of that, Ayesha, what surprised you the most?
The core of it, we're all human.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, it's so cliched, but it is so true.
Yeah. Hey.
It's so cliched, and it's okay to have a different opinion too. And a lot of the times, you are forming an opinion because you are scared, so you just have to really be open to other person's point of view and to be able to listen.
Yeah. So obviously it's a really wonderful trip you've been on, multi-faith trip. You've had Muslim women, Christian women, Jewish women. How did that benefit you? Obviously it benefited you enormously on a personal growth level. Has that shown up anywhere outside of that personal growth level? I guess, what I'm really probably beating around the bush here is, has that made you a better leader? Has it helped you listen better? How's that shown up in your day-to-day life back at home? I understand being in that environment is quite profound, but when you come back to the routine of day-to-day life, what impact has that had on your day-to-day life back here?
Oh, look, I mean, on a dentistry, very smaller level, it's a great conversation to have when your patient has their mouth open and you want to keep them entertained.
I thought that's what rubber dam was for.
But on a bigger level, of course, it's just given me the ability to be a bit more calm and a bit more open to ideas and suggestions. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Just going back to that trip, was there anything that particularly touched you? Anything that really moved you?
Lots, Jesse, but I think the fact that, I'll come back to it. I think there's one thing that is huge is the fact that there were a lot of people and I'll say mainly Jewish and Muslim side, because that is the most sort of volatile relationship at the moment.
Yeah, sure.
There are people who are not comfortable with something just because it's the norm or it is in our culture or it is in a tradition. They have the courage and they have the strength to question it and sort of shed and unlearn what they have been taught. And that's where they've risen. So they're teachers who are actually collaborating with each other now, the Jewish and Palestinian teachers coming together, Israeli and Palestinian really. And when I say Palestinian, it's both Muslims and Christians. And they come together, they, share a meal and they understand each other. And then they actually teach their kids in classes of what they've learned from each other. So they're actually sort of passing it on. And I think that's just amazing. There's mothers who've lost children in the conflicts, and they're now getting together and consoling each other. And that's just amazing.
Does it give you hope that there might be an end to that conflict?
There always will be. I think what we have to remember, and this is something that somebody's work that I read a lot, is Esko Squetama, and he said it profoundly. He said, for something to be alive, there has to be more good than bad. Otherwise it would be annihilation. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
There will be an end to it, yeah.
Now, I'm aware that you've been across to South Africa as well, just while we're on that topic. What was that trip like? This is going to sound like a travel diary, isn't it? Like Aisha's travel diary. Yeah. And this was obviously before COVID curtailed all your travel. But I'm curious to ask, what was that trip like? What was the purpose of that visit?
Oh, it was just a trip to meet some like-minded people and it was a personal excellence program. And it was literally to see how you can be your best self and to be able to, again, push yourself out of your limited beliefs. I mean, little things. For example, I will say something that I never said that I would do. And, I have bitten my tongue a lot of times with this. I never thought I would be able to meditate, but I do now. So, which everybody finds unbelievable.
Now I just have to ask, why does everyone find that unbelievable? Aisha, is it because they don't think you'd be able to have a quiet mind, or what is it?
Absolutely. I'm always supercharged and I'm always, trying to do something or the other. So
I can tell you years ago that when I was living in Brisbane, I did a mindfulness-based stress reduction course, which was based on the work of, I think it was John Kabat-Zinn at the time. And look, I don't want to be the Johnny-come-lately when it comes to meditation, but I think meditation for me personally has been one of the best self-care things I've ever done in terms of being able to just have a little bit of peace and quiet, being able to reflect inwardly for a while and just to get rid of that chatter for just a little while. Has it been helpful for you, the meditation, now that we know that you can do it?
Oh, absolutely. It's been really good. I think meditation does get a bad name because a lot of people come out of it or talk about it and they are very much, there's a lot of pride in there and that rubs people off the wrong way. And I mean, and it's not supposed to do that, to be honest. And it's almost like, again, as one of my mentors says, it's, it'll be silly to sort of say, oh, I'm not eating veggies because vegans annoy me.
Yeah.
Apologies to all the vegans.
Apologies to the vegans. Yeah. No, it's all right. I was about to make a joke, but I shan't. Okay, so the meditation's obviously going well. How's that impacting you? What's been your experience with it? I'm curious to ask.
So I think we all have this conditional motive in us, really. So it's, it's basically the things that we think we need in our life to be happy. I need to have a big house, or I need to have a nice car. And on a smaller level at work, it is, I need to be opening up that fourth room or the fifth room, or why did the receptionist not listen to me when I told her to do this? And, it's all those little chatter. It's called the internal voices that you have, or I'm not good enough to do this. So it helps change the character of it, really, and it helps quieten it down.
Mm.
And I mean, another thing that helps with that, with meditation, again, something that I never thought I'd do is also journaling. It's all just there to help quieten that inner internal dialogue. And when you journal, a lot of the time, and this is a personal experience, when something you feel is quite a big issue in your mind, when you actually put it on paper, it's really not that big a deal.
Yeah. And so when you're journaling, because I must confess, I'm not a great journaler. Not for the want of trying, but I find that I end up writing in bullet points and not writing in sentences. And I've never known if there was a right way or a wrong way to journal. But from your perspective with journaling, what are the things that you're writing down? Are you writing down how you're feeling, what's on your mind? Or are you writing down what your plans are? Or is it a bit of everything, whatever takes your fancy?
Yeah, I think it is. And it comes with practice. I mean, you can't expect to be, this amazing journal writer or this amazing person who just goes into meditation straight away. No. It's hard stuff.
Yeah.
Remember the first time you picked up a drill, your drill went everywhere. And, it is really hard. I'm 48, 49 now. And it's been...
You are not.
No, sorry, 38, 39.
I was just going to say, Ayesha. Okay. No.
But, it's all those years of internal dialogue, chatter, and beliefs or things that are there that you have to quieten down.
Yeah.
So it is a lot of hard work initially. It is a bit of an exercise. Mm. So, initially maybe do it for 2 minutes and 5 minutes. You don't have to sort of aim for a 40-minute session straight away. I can't do 40 minutes. 15, 20 minutes is great for me to at the
Yeah,
I aim to be there at 40 minutes. But yeah, it is something that is not easy, but you have to be committed to it. Like anything else, really.
So does that come back into setting up some habits so that, at certain times I get up and I meditate, then I journal or whatever your day-to-day routine looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, with journaling, I think once you have meditated, once the internal voice is a little bit quieter, then it helps you journal. Again, I'm the sort of person who doesn't like talking about feelings. And you know that. So
I do know that, Ayesha, and that's why I'm asking you some of these questions.
So again, it is very, very out of character. But again, if you are not stepping out, if you're not uncomfortable, then you're not growing really.
So, okay. So when it comes to personal development, I understand that all of us are only on this planet for a finite period of time and that we're all trying to fulfill our potential, be the best version of ourselves, all those other sorts of things. I'm curious to ask, what does fulfillment look like to you, Ayesha?
I think fulfillment for me is to be able to do the best that I can to my abilities. It also to be more aware, to have more of a situational awareness, again, through my meditation and personal growth. Basically, what that means is you deal with situations and people, not based on a lot of presumptions, and your business decisions as well.
So, Ayesha, when it comes to being a leader in your business, one of the key skills that I think we all need to master is effective decision making. Being able to keep clear-minded, keep our feet on the ground, not get caught up in the day-to-day drama of things. How has meditation, how has journaling equipped you to make better decisions?
I mean, it's still a process, Jesse. I'm not, perfect at it, and you will never be, really.
No.
It's accepting that as well, to be honest. But I'll come back to failure if we have time. But I think what you need to have is situational awareness. So once you've quietened, and I know I use it a lot, is your internal dialogue and the noise, you make, you deal with situations and people not based on presumptions. And you don't make a lot of bad business decisions on that, with that. There's not a lot of knee-jerk reactions. You're able to sit with your emotions and you're able to make a judgment or a call based on the situation and the facts.
I like that because, again, I'm of the view, and I suspect this is what you're saying, is that if we get caught up with our internal dialogue, we get caught up in the emotion of things. We apply meaning to things that may or may not be true. And we make decisions based on some assumptions that, again, may or may not be true. And then, of course, we run the risk of making faulty decisions. You did say that you wanted to come back and talk about failure, which is good because I want to talk about failure too. I think all of us would have experienced failure of one kind or form or another. What's your definition of failure?
I mean, failure is a very normal part of your life and any aspect, really. I mean, if you didn't have failure, you would be superhuman, and none of us are.
Yeah.
We've all made bad decisions, and we've all had moments where we've gone, oh, I could have done this so much better, or I can't believe this happened to me. But I think the ability to use your failure correctly is a form of success. So, you can sit down and sort of dwell in your self-pity and take it down with you, or you can actually sort of look within yourself and identify where is it where you can improve, and, where is it that you can, what is it in terms of your dental as an owner situation, where could you improve your systems? Where can you improve your communication? And are you really looking at things the right way? Are you looking at the world the wrong way? So is there something wrong in the way we are doing things? On a more sort of deeper level, it also is really good because it shakes our arrogant self-possession. So,
Okay.
You actually become a bit humble, and that's really good.
I 100% agree with you on that. And I want to talk to you a little bit about humility in a moment because it's a topic that I've been thinking a lot about recently. But before we do get onto that topic, I want to just talk a bit about failure for a moment. I think I've made more mistakes on this planet than I can think of nearly anyone else. I've made more failures. Sometimes I've learned from them. Sometimes I've had to repeat those failures a few times to get the lesson. Some of my biggest failures have probably been not managing relationships as well as I could have with people, maybe, burning a relationship or other things like that where, it could have been salvaged with a bit more work and a bit more effort. That's me personally. But there's other failures I've had in my life too. I'm curious to ask you, Ayesha, what's been one of your failures, but that has ultimately set you up for great learning that's held you in good stead down the track?
Oh, look, if I were to talk about in business sense, it's losing some really good staff member over the course of years just because I was not a good communicator. I didn't have good systems. And that led to, the relationship breakdown there and the loss of some very valuable people.
And how did that set you up for future wins? Was it just essentially understanding the lessons or was there more to it?
Absolutely. There was so much to learn in it. And, we don't come out being the best business people from dental school, and we don't come out being the best communicators. So it was a lot of learning there and and working on that.
So just to switch gear for a second, Ayesha, we've obviously recording this and we're in the middle of COVID-19 and you're at home and I'm at home. And I'm curious to ask you a little bit about your perceptions around the COVID-19 situation, not from the health pandemic point of view, but I'm thinking that there's going to be lots of self-reflection going on as a result of this. And I think there'll be an opportunity for practice owners, any business owner, to perhaps reinvent themselves, to reimagine what their practice can be, should be. Coming back to what you said earlier, getting clear about their own definition of success. What sort of reflections have you had around this COVID-19 situation?
Oh, look, we've all had our pity parties and, oh my God, why me? And why is this happening just when I was about to diagnose the biggest cases of my life? And, and then you do oscillate, and it's still early ages, so it's hard to say, but you do oscillate between, fear and not knowing what's happening, which is the same for everyone, to, being really optimistic at times and then coming back. I think what we have to realize, again, I'm no authority on these things, but this is just completely my personal perception, is you just have to accept it the way it is and make the best of the situation to what you can, Some people, first of all, be a bit patient with what's happening. If you are feeling scared or annoyed or, if you want to be in a bit of a remorseful sort of mode, allow yourself to feel that way. Yeah. It's okay. Just sit with it. It is part of you.
Yeah.
All these emotions make us us. So, and it's okay. And, and if you need it, maybe it was time that you needed some rest, take some rest and then get back up on your feet and start sort of planning for the next move. That's the best you can do, really, is start sort of planning. And this is what you've been doing a lot of as well with your coaching is, what do we do once the doors open and get yourself ready for it. But for that, you really need to have a nice sort of, relaxed mindset, or not mindset, but, be a bit more at ease and at peace.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And there is certainly going to be a time for rest and recuperation. And we're recording this just before Easter. And of course, there's Easter's going to mean different things to different people. But one thing is it does mean is a 4-day weekend. So hopefully people will take some time to recharge the batteries. I wanted to just also touch on the topic of, you've mentioned the word arrogance before in some of the discussions that, we can all fall prey to our own arrogance from time. And we can all fall prey to our own hubris from time to time. And I think humility for me is one of the qualities that I really admire in people. Some of the most successful people I've ever met in my life have gone on such a personal journey, and they're also incredibly humble as well. So humility is something that I really value and appreciate in other people. Where do you see people getting caught up with arrogance, not individuals by name, but just as I guess, general conversation? Where do we as humans get caught up with our own arrogance, and how do we try to keep a degree of humility about who we are and all the rest of it?
Really, for my own self, I've come to believe that if I'm doing really well and if I'm so successful, there must be something wrong. I'm really not growing, and I'm just feeling very comfortable in my own skin at the moment. That for me is arrogance. So you're not growing. I feel that, you need to be humble, and that will help you grow and be open to hearing things from other people. I mean, one of the greatest philosophers, I think it was Socrates, who used to just listen and talk to everyone, even be a beggar on the street or, be a very learned person. So everybody has something to teach you, and, you will pick up things from other people. But if you're arrogant, you pretty much have blinkers on. That's what I feel. I mean, personally.
Yeah, that's 100% my view as well. I've kind of realized, Ayesha, when I was younger, I thought I knew everything. Well, maybe not everything, but I thought I knew a lot. And it's really interesting that one of the things I've noticed as I'm aging is that, and just to be clear, I'm not that old, just for the listeners, but I'm 48. But one of the things that I've learned in my 40s is that the older I get, the less I'm certain of, and the more shades of grey that I see, and the more I realize I have to learn. And it's been really interesting for me in this COVID-19 situation. One of my reflections has been that uncertainty is kind of everywhere in life. Sometimes we think we have certainty and we actually don't.
We don't, yeah.
And that's been a big lesson for me. As a lot of people, we're clinging onto a notion of certainty in some areas of our life, and it's not actually real. And so for me, then I've come to the realization that when I think I know something, I actually don't. It's just perception. And so it's been a really interesting thought process, and this is perhaps sounding a little bit nebulous as I'm trying to describe it, but the point I'm trying to make is that none of us know everything. All of us have got some things to learn. And what I really admire about you, Ayesha, is your willingness to open yourself up and say, this is the journey I've been on. I haven't figured it all out, but I'm trying my best to be the best version of me. And there's lots of things that I'm learning, probably making a few boo-boos along the way, but that's okay. And I'm at peace with that. And I think that's a really nice, mature way to live your life. So I really salute you for that, Ayesha. I think it's really lovely.
Thank you. You're very kind. I think it's a constant learning process. And, I think one thing we should really understand that there's a difference, and especially as dentists, there is a difference between having an ambition and being in a race. So, ambition is when you sort of challenge yourself and you can push yourself to do the best you can and to be your best self. And, this is where I feel, and somebody I would never, ever quote normally, again, see, never, ever. Matthew McConaughey, I think he said it in one of his speeches that my ideal person is me in my 10 years time. And that should be your ideal.
Yeah.
And so when you have identified the goals, we need to just push ourselves to those. But the intent should also be on giving. So you give the best you can to your profession, to your time. And that's when you grow more. But when you're in a race, it's not original. It's not you.
Mm.
And, your sense of security or fulfillment is flawed, to be honest, I feel, or hollow.
Yep.
So you sort of, you do cultivate an experience of discontentment, weakness, and then, victimhood follows. So I think the intent there would be to get, I want this, I want that. So it's really, really important to separate the two.
And so are you saying a better intention is I want to be?
I want to be and I want to give. When you give to we can have a whole podcast on that. And Emma does a whole...
I'm going to hold you to that, just saying. You heard it here first, ladies and gents.
So, the intent to give is basically when you give the best to your profession. You are not there to, yes, you will get things out of it, but you do the best you can, the dentistry you can, you be the best leader you can by giving them the best training, by giving them the best of experiences. That's when you will actually have the most fulfillment. In a nutshell.
Yeah, lovely. There's some wonderful leadership lessons that you've shared through this podcast, Ayesha. And just as we wrap that up, I would like to ask you, who are the people who you admire in the leadership space? You've had some wonderful experiences over the last year or two, traveling around the world, meeting people. Who are the people that inspire you?
Oh, there's been heaps, Jesse. There have been people who are, simple housewives, really living at home and living a very fulfilling, fruitful life. There have been simple, sweet people like my grandmother, who was way ahead of her times with the thinking.
Yeah.
There was my business coach, Jessie Green, who was fantastic.
Get out.
I mean it.
Well, I'll have to edit that bit out.
And I can see you're going all red.
I'm blushing.
And lately I've been following works of Etsko Squetema. He's a business and leadership consultant as well in South Africa. I went for his Personal Excellence program. And he has some great work on business leadership and on self-care. So, and there was a family member of mine who had amazing clarity of thoughts, and she passed away last year. And, I had never met such a such an inspiring person.
Well, Ayesha, I'd really like to say thank you to you today, because this is a really good podcast, I believe, because it's so real. We're not talking about business. We're talking about life, being the best human we can be. And ultimately, my thinking around all of that is outer world is a reflection of our inner world anyway. And so I'm so pleased to have had the opportunity to talk to you about these things, Ayesha, because you've got so much wisdom, so much to share, and you're doing so much good work. And I really want to say, well done to you, and you're a bright light in our profession. And I know that there's a ton of people that look to you for guidance and leadership. And thank you so much for sharing all your life lessons, leadership lessons, wisdom and insights today, because I think they're going to be really helpful for lots of people, not just during this COVID time, but through life in general. So again, Ayesha, I just want to say a huge thank you to you. You're wonderful.
Thank you, Jesse. You've been very kind. Just putting it out there, it's not all perfect. It's a constant struggle. So the practice, has its share of up and downs, and, so it's very, very normal, just like everybody else.
Everyone's got that. And I think that's a good message to finish on. Just remember that whatever you're doing in your world is just fine and great, and everyone is good as they are, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Lovely. All right, Ayesha, thanks once again, mate.
Thanks, Jesse.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Savvy Dentist podcast with Dr. Jessie Green. For more free tools and resources, join the free Facebook group. Visit drjessiegreen.com/Facebook. And for more episodes, visit drjessiegreen.com/savvydentist.